Welcome to my fantastic Stampin' Flock team meeting for October the 20th, 2021. So I'm hoping I can make this as a watch party and we can hopefully all kind of watch it together, and maybe I can even get you the kits prior to that date. So I'm hoping I can do that. I should have started this a little bit sooner, but I just had this brainwave to see if this would actually work. So tonight we are going to make this cute little angle trifold card, and it has this belly band that goes on it as well. So, and I may change it up just slightly for you guys, but I'm just kind of going to wing it here tonight and see how I can do this so that it works well. So this is what we're going to do. So I'm going to show you how to cut it and give you the actual measurements. So if you keep tabs on all that, that would be good. So I might try and do something a little different and make this, do some time lapsing and hopefully cut out a little bit of the downtime. So without anything further, I'm going to start. So you're going to need your paper trimmers for this project. And so the cardstock is 5.5 inches by 11 inches, and I've already scored it at 2 3/8 and 7 5/8. But if you only want to remember one mark, just flip it over, just flip your cardstock over and do it at the 3 3/8 mark on there. But this should be 4 1/4 in between the two score lines anyway. So it's going to be folding like this or like this, whichever direction you want your fold to come up on. So once you get it scored there, you're going to put this into your paper score trimmer, and you're going to line up this fold at the top of your card, and then you're with the trough in the cutting mechanism, and then you're going to turn it until you get this particular tip at the 1 1/2. So if you've got a Stampin' Up cutting scoring tool, then, or cutting tool, then you'll probably have it. Otherwise, you may have to turn it and use this on the other side. So but I have it on mine, so I'm going to do it this way. So something I learned about this too was it's best to cut from the edge that isn't going to have the point. So you're going to get hopefully a nicer trim at that end. So you're going to cut that piece off. And then you're going to line up that point that you just made, and it's going to be lined up with the 1 inch mark on your, so you're going to put that point into the trough and just turn it until you get this there, and put that down, hold your card in place and run it here. And there you got another piece. So we've got the one side trimmed off. I think it looks like I need to change my trimmer blade. Couldn't remember where I had them, but I found them. So, you know, I'm going to change that because it doesn't look like it's given me quite as nice of a cut line as I'd like. So you just have to pull these up, you guys. They just pop right off. I think there's a wider spot in here someplace that it's supposed to take it off. There. And then that's the same. It'll just pop back in the slot there. Okay. So let's see if that's going to cut a little nicer. But if you get that happening, you can always use your bone folder and just flatten that edge out. So now we got to cut this other one. So if you put it in. And now this time I'm going to use this portion of my cutting, measurements on here on the paper trimmer. And so now I need to line up this point at the 1.5 inch mark, which is right there. And then you have to make sure you get the other point in the groove, the cutting groove. So, and trim that off. Let's keep that in there like that, and then turn this one to the 1 inch portion of 1 inch cutting, which is right there and here. And again, I'm moving it away so that I'm not starting at that tip. Hopefully I'll get a nice sharp cut there. Looks like I did. And for those of you that noticed here, I put a strip of this 2A tape on the back side of my paper trimmer so that my numbers would show up a little easier. And I kind of like that, actually. So, I don't know if that was the difference or not. Still looks like I have a little bit of a ledge there. Anyway, so then there's that one done. So the next pieces that we're going to need are, which I haven't even cut that yet. I was kind of playing around with the width of this. And this time, I think I'm going to use just a different piece of cardstock on here. So I cut it, instead of cutting it at 3 3¼ inches wide, I just made it slightly narrower. So that would be just the 1/16. So that would be 3/16 of an inch. And I think that was okay. So that would be 3/16 inches wide by 5¼ And we're going to need 2 of those, one for each side. So if you wanted, you could actually cut it at the 3¼ inches wide and then just trim it off after when you see what shape you need on it. Okay, so then now we're going to do this the same way. You want to keep, if you've got a direction, you want to keep them. So I'm going to cut this one first at the 1.5. So the point goes there. Is that correct? No, I want to cut it so it's this. Oh. Okay, just give me a second here. This point has got to be the longer point. So we're going to be cutting it here. And I guess we got 2 sides, so we just have to make sure. Now if you look at this, that's going to go on this side here, if we're going to use that side up. And then, so then the next cut is here, and then line it at the 1 inch line. So that's right about there. And then we're just going to slip that up to that point. Oop, I think it moved on me. Takes a little concentration on this. Make sure we get it at the right spot. Oh, I hate that. That's moving on me. Okay. So now if you pull this back in, this isn't actually a good color. I'm going to use this other color on here. going to use this one here. I have another one cut, so it's easier to see this on here. So as you can see, we need to do it so that we've got equal amounts around the edges here. So if I turn that, it looks like that's going to be actually pretty good using the 3 3/16. So that's the first one. And then now we have to do the second one. So the second one, this point needs to be the longest point. So we're going to cut it off this way. So we're going to line that up at the point and again at the 1.5 mark. Hope I got this right. Yes, I do. And then this turns, and again, you will put this at 1 inch. A little bit more to hang on to on this piece here, and cut her off. For some reason, they aren't necessarily always the best, so I don't know why that is. They're not like this one here. Look at. Tell me why that looks like that, because the other side doesn't, and they're the very same. Do you guys have any ideas on that? Is this recording? I think it is. It's not really showing too much of anything, but so when I get to this, ready to glue it on, I'm probably going to do a little bit of maybe trimming, I don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed in the way that looks, that's for sure. So I'm going to say maybe I'm smarter to just or maybe that was slightly over the 1.5 or something. I'm not super happy with that piece. See, that one turned out really good. So, I don't know. I'm going to cut another piece and try again, because I'm really not happy with that piece. Kind of using a lot of cardstock on here. So that's probably where it's a good idea to make them actually a little bit wider. And then that way, actually cut them 3 1/4 inches, because you can always cut them down, whereas you can't cut them, make them bigger once you've cut them. So I'm going to try this again and see what happens. And hopefully this time it'll be better. And now put this one and move it down to a 1 inch mark. That one looks better. So I'm going to put that piece out of there so I don't get it mixed up. So you'll have to be, oh no! Or did I throw the wrong one away? Probably I did. There. Put the wrong piece away. Okay. So we've got these 2 pieces now. So we would just adhere those on here. You can decide if you need to do any more trimming of that DSP before you adhere it on. And I guess the only other thing we need our paper trimmer for is to cut a piece of something for the belly band. So I've got I'm going to make them a 1 inch strip. And it only needs to be, I think 10 inches is about right. We can always trim a bit more off if we want to. So we've got the belly band done. I haven't got my paper here for the, to do the decorations yet, so we'll just pick and choose what that's going to be. So now I'm just gonna put this part together. And like I said, we're going to decide about this. Now, to me, that looks pretty good. I'm just going to put some on here. And that one looks really nicely. And I'm going to just put liquid glue. This little tip is really good. Try get it right on the tips so that you don't end up with them coming up on you, because they're just pointed. It's funny how that looks better than once you get it on there. Maybe isn't quite as perfect as you'd like. And then the other side, we'll do the same. So I think that's the hardest part of the card, you guys, is getting these angles correct on here. So as you can see, this one here, and I have no idea why it does that. The lady's video that I watched, her name was Lorraine, and she had the same issues. She said she really doesn't know why that happens either. And I sure don't know why either. So I think what we will do is bring my paper trimmer back in. Close my glue up so I don't have it drying out on me. Okay, so I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, this could use probably just a little off of this point here. So if I line that up into the paper trimmer about like that, I'm just thinking that might just be enough. I don't really want to cut anything off at the beginning of it, and we'll see if I've just cut this little sliver off. And I'll see if that is going to make it look a little more balanced. And it does. So I think I'm going to stop while I'm ahead with that one. Sometimes those can be a pain. So I will just put adhesive on here again. This is a great little glue holder for the liquid glue. So there we are. There's that one. And now I did make my belly band in, I don't know, this here shouldn't be leaving those edges on my scores with the new blade in there. But I want to put a piece inside of there first. Maybe I'll use the piece of Very Vanilla today inside on this particular one because it's not quite as white, I don't think. So maybe I'll use that in there. Or should we go white? I don't have a piece of white cut. We'll get one quick though. Decide between white and the Very Vanilla. Maybe the white's better. But the other thing I forgot, the other thing that I need is a piece of, I think probably use this color again. We've got strips of that from the cutting these cards, because they take more than just a half a piece of cardstock. So I'm just going to cut this, and I'm going to make it about 4 inches wide. It should be about right. And then I use this here. I never showed you the inside of that card, I don't think. I use this, and I'll cut this, but I'll bring in my mini cut and emboss machine. And that way we'll get this done. Sorry about all the shaking, you guys. It seems to be what happens with this. So we can use a little as much as we want, and I'm thinking I'm going to try and move that out of the way for a second again. Is it much space to work? Can use that, and I've got this new tape for, instead of the washi tape, it's called labeling and cover-up tape, that works pretty good for taping these down, and you could reuse it as well, so it's kind of good that way. Yep, maybe it's not connecting enough. Should I use a little bigger piece, I guess. It's either that, or I'll just put it right at the bottom, and then I'll have a bit more space for this tape to stick onto there. I guess that'll work. I ended up just putting it right on the end, so. And we're going to run it through now. Try not to shake the camera too much on that process. Here it is. And I thought that would go nicely on the bottom. That will go nice on the bottom of here. I thought. So we'll put that, I'm going to use my trustworthy liquid here again. You could actually add this to the back of a piece of the adhesive strips if you wanted to avoid some of these little tips for sure. I use my tweezers, so maybe I won't get quite as much glue on my fingers. Get this, I'm gonna go right to the bottom of it, I think, or close anyhow. Oh, my eyes are blurring in this one. And I can see I should have cut that just a smidge wider, that there piece of trim. Need to trim a little bit off of it. There. I'm going to do that slightly on the bottom as well, because I can see that I don't have it exactly lined up on the bottom. So then this piece goes in here, I'm not going to bother with stamping it just at this moment. I'm going to decide later what I want to put in there. But I thought this was pretty cute. So that's going to be like that. Like that. Okay. So now with the belly band, if you want to hide it in behind your decoration on the front, it works as best not to actually pre-score these, because depending on your thickness. But on my first one here, you can see I've got it actually a little too loose. I should have had it slightly snugger. It barely fits into an envelope. So it does need to be a little tighter than what I did. So anyway, so you'll want to put that on there. And you can overlap it just a bit and push her down. And you can test it to see if it's going to be too tight or not, I guess. I think that one will be okay. So what I find works good, you want to use a relatively strong adhesive. So I'm going to use this tear and tape. Put a little strip on the end, and then I'll put a little strip on the other side as well. See, and as this overlaps, I'll put it on this end of this piece. Tear that off and tear this side off. And then if I do this, I can and again, I hope it's not too tight or too loose. We'll get it figured out, won't we? So I'm not going to bother taping on here the making the decoration on here. So, but I'll tell you exactly what I did. I used the gold foil, and I've cut these 3 little leaves out of the dies. I've stamped this on a piece of my Whisper White and cut it with the layering circle dies, and this as well. I adhered it to the belly band with dimensionals, and then these jewels are from, they're from the metallic pearls. So hopefully that will work, you guys, and let me know what you thought of this method.